Welcome to the Mind Muse podcast. I'm your host, Christy Turley, and today Emily Klein joins me to discuss simple recipes for living a joyful life. Now, Emily is a true joy. I mean, she lives up to her joyful life coach and positivity expert title. And we'll be talking about a variety of topics, including how what she learned from becoming a master of her misery kind of by accident, and how she flipped the script on that and became a positivity expert. They say that some of our greatest challenges can become our greatest strengths, and that's exactly what Emily has done. And she'll be sharing with us some ways to get out of a funk and to really live the life of your dreams, to create a very joyful life. So let's go ahead and dive in. And before I do that, actually, let me tell you a little bit more about her. So she has 25 years of experience in personal development and fulfillment. And she's become an authority on helping women and also heart-centered men to stop comparing and to start living even when life doesn't look like the brochure that we've been sold or what you might see on Pinterest, right? And Emily works with clients both live and virtually and one-on-one and also in groups. And she's a New Jersey girl. She lives there with her daughter and their large brown dog and a small gray bunny. So let's go ahead and dive into today's episode. All right. Welcome, Emily, to the show.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here.
Good. Yeah, well, we have some interesting world circumstances happening around, and no matter what time you're listening to this show, it could be next year for all we know. But this certain situation that we're faced with is helping us all to look at our lives and look at our business, and causing us to see what needs to be reinvented and what needs some creativity, what needs some changes. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. Some recipes for joy and playing full out and living without any regret.
Awesome.
So let's do it. So we were talking before the show and we just decided, hey, we better press record. We're about to say something really brilliant. So
I know, right? Isn't that how it is? And you're like, I should have written that down. Or I should have,
and you were just saying that too, like business owners.
It's exactly what I was saying.
Yeah.
I was listening to this podcast today, and I think it was today. I don't know. Anyway, and so the woman said, if you want people to be able to read your mind, you have to write it down. And I was like, that is so brilliant. But why that was so fitting and so appropriate right now is because with this whole Corona thing going on, I have all these daily practices that contribute to my joyful life. And it occurred to me that in order to share them so that other people would have the same tools that I had, that I should write them down. And so there really is a recipe for joy. And whether it's in your personal life, in your business, life as a whole, it's so important to have daily practices.
I totally agree. I have daily practices myself, and it's made all the difference. So what is it that you do in your practice?
Well, I'm going to tell you in 1 second. Before this, I want to say that recipes really are opinions. And so sometimes it's just like not necessarily the thing, but the categories that perhaps the thing could fall into. That is the thing that resonates for you. Because for example, I have so many friends that are entrepreneurs, and everybody's got somebody they follow. And I'm not going to say the name, but like, just because I don't want to, make anybody feel bad, but like, right. and also because it doesn't matter, because their thing doesn't resonate for me. And right. So in this particular thing, they're like, you have to read a book a week. And this is one of the books that you should read as your Bible. And so this friend of mine gave me this book to read. And I have to tell you, like, if I can't sleep at night, this is the thing that I read.
Sounds pretty thrilling.
And I have to say, the person that wrote this book is a bazillionaire with a jillion followers, but their strategy doesn't work for me. Their recipe does not make what I want to eat or what I want my life to be. And so for me, it's really simple. And I actually wrote it down because so many people are feeling so lost right now. They're stuck in their house. You know, for a lot of us, we work from home, so it kind of feels normal. But for a lot of people, it isn't. And everyone's like wanting some sort of control about what's going on out there. And you can't control what's going on out there, ever. Like, the truth is, you and I were talking about this when we first met. What's going on out there has nothing to do with joy and what's going on in here. So to get to my recipe, it starts with moving your body. It could be kickboxing in the basement. It could be a dance party. It could be dancing with your kids or dancing with your husband. It could be a strip tease. Like, anything to move your body and literally get the blood flowing. That's the first thing. The second thing is eat something delicious. Like, this is not the time, and life in general, like, you want to enjoy life. Sometimes things are like in order to, like, I'm watching my this or my that, and you know, you could be creative about that. But eating delicious things, like, this is not the time, and life is not the time to suffer, really. Also, nourish your mind. Read something that feels exciting to you, like this book that my friend gave me that is like a really like book. Not for me. Like, right now I'm reading a book called I think it's called When God Winks at You, and it's all about coincidence, and like, that's like God showing up, and he calls these little things God winks. It's like this great little book, but it feels delicious to my mind, and for my mindset, and for my day, and for my life, and for how I show up in the world, for myself, for my daughter, for my clients, for the world at large.
Yeah, it feeds your soul, much like your breakfast that you enjoyed. And I can't help but notice when you were talking, I just had this aha. It was like enjoy and joy. Like, joy is in the word enjoy. And the key to having joy, which I would always get upset at people who would say, oh, you've got to find joy in the journey. And I'm like, blah, 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 blah. Like, you don't know my life. You don't know what I'm going through right now. It's pretty difficult or whatever. Like, don't tell me to have joy when, you know, I'm facing whatever it is. Right. And I'm in a different spot now. Right. But I've found that finding things you love, finding things that you enjoy is really how we experience joy. It's not external to us. You know, it's not found in all these achievements and reading 10 books this week and, you know, making sure we're at the gym 3 hours a day or whatever the list of achievements that some of these podcasts give you to do. Right? It's really in that enjoyment.
Absolutely. I could not agree with you more. I'm going to take a step away from this recipe, because what you just said reminded me. I realized the other day that familiar and familial is almost the exact same word.
Sure. Yeah.
Which is why so many things that people seek out, regardless of whether or not they really want to, is because it's familiar, because it's familial, because it's what they grew up with.
Yeah, good point.
So I love words.
Yes, I do too.
Words are like the best thing ever.
Yeah.
And choosing the right one, it makes
creation.
A difference.
Creation, which is also related to joy.
100%.
So that's why we love words.
Oh, so much. Like, the other day, I was working on this, something I was writing for my website, and I put the word dispensing, and I was like, no, sharing.
Yes.
It's it's two completely different things, and both would communicate something, but
Totally
not the
agree.
same thing.
Totally agree. And it's interesting too. Like I ran into that the other day. It's like it's so easy to say use this in order to get that. But then how about using something like a word like understand or embrace? You know, it's just so much more beautiful and almost like a layer of emotion to it, which pierces into people's minds even further than one of those common words like use or get, right?
Yes. Another thing is that I was listening to something, or I was reading something on Facebook. I don't remember what it was, but it was something where people were like, everyone was like judging everybody else.
Mm.
And someone said, well, what about having compassion
Mm-hmm.
instead of judgment? And yes, they are completely different words, but they mean completely different things. And what a concept to choose compassion.
Absolutely. If
Like,
only
what
we
a
could do
beautiful
that.
word, a world.
Well, you know, if everyone had a sign around their head saying, here's what I'm dealing with right now, we would have a lot more compassion. But that's not how the world works. We just have to pretend we don't know their story. We haven't walked in their shoes and not to judge someone when we're on a totally different part of our journey than they are.
Yes. And like, I think that you don't even need to know what
No,
they're
you don't.
dealing with to choose compassion.
Yeah, you
Just
don't.
compassion for everyone.
I was just saying, like, because we're in a physical world, wouldn't it be easier if everyone had just a sign around their neck saying, I just went through, this situation, be kind to me or something. But we don't. And we have to remind ourselves to
Be kind
have
anyway.
to be kind anyway, despite appearances, right?
Hmm.
Well, let's get back to your recipe.
Oh, yes. So then take something to completion every day. So don't just start something, like literally have something that you can experience producing a result.
Mm,
It could be anything at all, but there's something about the satisfaction and, dare I say, joy that comes from beginning to end. Something measurable and yummy. Then there is also do something in service of someone else. It can be anything. And last but not least, reach out and connect with someone that's important to you. This is my recipe for a joyful life. If you do those things every day, whether it's like 1 minute or 20 minutes, it literally will transform the way life occurs for you.
I love it. Now, have you ever noticed if you didn't do one of those things, any consequences that happen throughout the day? Any funny stories?
Um, well, well, before I was divorced, but before that, my ex sometimes would be. So I take this 5 mile walk every morning, and It is me and God. It is my divine time, and I call it my bliss walk. Now I call it my bliss walk because of the divine nature of it, but also because if I said I have to take a 5 mile walk every day, sounds miserable.
It does. Sounds like a
Sounds
lot of work.
miserable. But like, I'm taking my bliss walk. Ooh, can I come? But so the funny thing was that on the days, and it's for my head. I mean, yes, body, yes, but head, mind, like all of that. Um, so on the days that I didn't do it, my ex would be like, "Hey, don't you want to go for a walk?" Because he noticed that I needed that. And it's 100%, like I literally don't miss it. It can rain, it can snow. I do not care. I will dry. My shoes will dry. I am so blessed to have a warm home to get back to and dry clothes to put on.
Yeah, it's true how easily walking out in nature will flip a switch in your brain, in your mind. That's great. It's a great form of meditation for people who aren't wanting to om and sit in a lotus position too, right?
Totally. I once did this. I used to live in the city, and there was this place called Integral Yoga. And so it was a store, but it was also a yoga studio and a meditation studio. And they had something called walking meditation. And I was like, ooh, that's right up my alley. I'm going to love it. I was so wrong. It was like we all stood in a circle, like, and walked really slowly in this circle.
Oh my.
And like I'm someone like I like to move it.
Yeah.
Like I like to move it. Like,
Yeah, there's a lot of high achieving performers that like to do that too. Yeah. Yeah. Meditation it's been good. Like I enjoy it. I didn't always, and I actually fought against it, but I definitely have noticed too, like when walking or even on the treadmill, ideas will come that don't normally come. Just
yes.
because it's like I don't know the science of it, but I know there's science to it because I've read it before. But it's like that rhythmic walking, occupies a part of your brain, so it unleashes like the center where you get all your ideas and inspiration. Like why you call it your divine time, because I'm sure you get a lot of ideas.
Well, so to tell you all my secrets. So when I leave the house, I say, good morning, God. Good morning, Source. Good morning, Spirit. Good morning, Universe. Good morning, Archangel Michael. What do you have for me today? And then I go. And I find that, like, I don't even get a block before stuff just starts coming to me. And I used to walk with this little microphone, a little recorder. And then I would get home and I would type it into my into the computer. But now, because of the iPhone, I just put it in notes. I have notes open, and then I just hit the microphone. So I say whatever the thing is, and when I get home, it's already in my computer.
Oh, nice! And
It's
that's
genius.
in the Notes app.
In the Notes app.
Yeah,
well, sometimes it doesn't quite. You know how technology when it works is awesome, and then sometimes you're like, huh?
Yeah, exactly.
Once it said, I got home and it said, the mayor, the horse, and the horse's neck. I was like, I have no idea.
Don't even remember. And isn't that funny how inspiration is so fleeting? Like you're like, oh, I'll remember that. And how important it is to, again, write things down, right?
You have to write things down. Yes. So I have to count my gratitudes every morning. That brings so much joy. Just to remember, like I have this little altar that I made, and I have 12 stones, and I don't know why there are 12, but somewhere someone said you're supposed to have 12. I literally don't know. But so every morning I gather them up and I say a gratitude for each one, and I put them down, and then I light a little candle, and then I go do my reading. And then I have all these little cards, like when I have cereal or anything that comes in a cardboard box at the end, I cut the cardboard up into little note cards just because it's like good to jot things down. But now I actually jot gratitudes on those, and I have this little trunk, and I put it in every day.
Oh, that's beautiful. That's
yeah. So like on the days that it's a bad day, you could just reach in and grab one and read it and see the date and what was going on.
I'm glad you mentioned the bad days, because this is important. We started out the episode talking about how, it's important to write things down. And I believe that it's also for those bad days. So we can have a checklist to go through, like how do you get yourself out of funk?
Yes. Are you asking me, or are you just?
Well, yes, it's rhetorical, but if you would like to answer the question, I'd love to hear.
Well, I think, first of all, I think it's good to embrace whatever is going on, because oftentimes, like, you can't step over stuff. You really have to go through, because if you try to step over, it doesn't really get solved. It gets like sort of shoved in the back of the drawer like an old cheese sandwich. which then, you can imagine what the old cheese sandwich will smell like when you remember that it's there. So I think that you really need to work through things rather than, just getting out of them. But I think oftentimes, you know, if you change your physiology, it really does change a mood. So whether it's putting on a song and literally having a dance party for a minute, or even like doing jumping jacks, or like telling a joke, like anything, like little things to just shift your attention, shift your energy.
Yeah, because what you focus on expands, as we know, right?
Totally.
Yeah, I almost see like writing a letter to your future self having a bad day and saying, okay, these are the things that will get you out of it, because it's going to be different for everyone. Just like we were talking about before, like what works for someone isn't going to work for somebody else.
Yeah.
So the gratitude trunk is such a good idea. You could, I mean, when we're feeling low, it's kind of hard to get to gratitude. That's on the opposite side of the spectrum. And to be
Yes.
able to just reach your hand in there and just read a few cards and say, you know what? And also making them meaningful, not just like, I'm grateful for my house, but like, why? Why are you grateful for your house?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And getting descriptive.
Yes. Yeah. Things that will actually transport you
Yeah.
to the feeling of
Mm-hmm.
the gratitude.
Mm-hmm.
Oprah
Mm-hmm.
just says, someone asked Oprah, what is her favorite gratitude? And I love it so much. Thank you. Just thank you. And it's so, we forget we're lucky. Like sometimes, listen, I'm not like, I'm trying to think of like some like, Paris Hilton. I don't know. I mean, like, I don't know what her spiritual life is like, but like, there are people that I'm not Oprah.
Yeah.
I'm not Oprah. Let's do that. But wow, I'm lucky.
Yeah.
Wow. Like, gee whiz, I am lucky.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, you can't really compare your backstage to someone else's front stage. You really don't. I mean, you really don't know Oprah, for example.
Right.
You really don't know who she is other than what she has on her front stage and what she has or what she has to deal with. Like you
Mm-hmm.
could probably guess, but you probably don't know. Like it's like an iceberg. You can see the little tip of it, but you can't see what's below the surface. And it's a lot more below the surface than what you can imagine. So yeah, I do think it's important to really be grateful for what we each have, because we're different. We're all different, and we get to
Yes.
choose.
But not only do we choose, but like, we choose thoughts that are useful, because we make up everything. And so you can choose things that inspire you, and you can choose things that make you feel like garbage. And I think that a lot of the times, we forget, we think it's true, and it's not true.
Yeah.
Like, especially like back to the whole like coronavirus situation. I don't know why I keep talking about it. Well, yeah, I know I keep talking about it because, I'm in my house right now, and like,
Well, it's huge right now in the world.
yes,
Yeah.
it's
And
huge right now
and
in
it
the
affects
world.
everyone in the world too.
It's
So,
everyone in the world. My sister lives in Paris, and they are on lockdown. And she got a something this morning that said that even like bicyclists and joggers are only permitted to go 1 kilometer from home. So it's crazy.
yeah,
It's crazy, but
definitely an adjustment.
it is an adjustment. But what I was going to say was, like, people, they worry about what will happen, and I think that, you prepare, and then you got to let go,
Mm-hmm.
because unless it actually happens, then you can be in that world, and then you will take one next right step after another, making your best choice with what you have at the time. But unless it actually happens, there is, like, it's a big smoke screen.
Mm-hmm.
to keep you from what you can focus on.
Yeah.
You
It's an
can create.
illusion. Yeah. The future is an illusion, and it's not set in stone. And any
No.
choice we make today can affect the future, and there's no point in guessing what the future may hold. You can't
Mm-mm.
predict it.
No, like you try to you you put one foot in front of the other, one next right step, but you're working towards something, but you have no guarantee um what will happen. Like there's no real cause and effect. Like sometimes you'll take a lot of steps, and then the thing that you thought you were getting is not the thing that you get something over there, but it was still because you took those steps. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Right. Yep. Yep. Totally. So you talk in your work about how to be a master of your own misery. Can you speak a little bit about that and what that means?
Well, they say that you have mastery over anything that you spend 10,000 hours on. And I was writing this book, um, and what I discovered, because I was like, what is my mastery? I'm like, is it this? Is it that? Is it this? Is it that? And I realized that what it was misery. At the time, I had been in a place where I was so miserable for such a long period of time that was the thing that I had focused on. That was the thing that I could write a book about. That was the thing that I could teach you while I was sleeping. And the beautiful thing about that, because there's always the beautiful thing about whatever it is that I can reverse engineer that. I could create anything. Like it's a matter of, I think, what you call your attention to. Um, and again, what as we were saying, like what you focus on increases.
Mm-hmm.
So when you focus on like something bad, something negative, scarcity, 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 guess what you get more of?
Yep. Exactly. Exactly. And it is. I think this situation is teaching us to be more present, more mindful, and for some of us it's, you know, being more present with our families, and snuggling with our kids. And, like you said, all we can really have control of is what we're doing right now in the moment, or what we're thinking right now in the moment. And the best thing we can do is create joy, right? That's
Right.
that's that's really what I feel like this life is all about. It's like to find joy, to experience joy.
Yes. Every day, as much
Mhm.
as you possibly can. I think that right now we're all sort of hunkered down, and it's like what's beautiful about this? What's great about this
Mhm.
moment? Like how can I use this time to go within and um really use it to create more joy for me, for you, for my daughter, for her dad, for humanity, like all of us. I was watching, I made this mistake of turning on the news, and because I don't I don't do the news. Like
Yeah.
if I do,
No,
I
same
put a
here.
timer for 5 minutes. And then when the timer rings, I am done with the news. But I turned it on, and uh, there was a story about guns, and how gun people buying guns was at an all-time high. And they were interviewing people, and there was this guy, and he was like, well, at some point we're going to run out of food, and then you got to protect what's yours. And I thought, oh my God, like that never even occurred to me. Like what like an opposite, what an interesting thing to spend your to spend your precious time on
Mhm.
contemplating.
Right. Yeah, I know. Well, it's good to be prepared, but at the same time, you don't want to like spend your whole entire day trying to think of every single contingency. And this is true whether, you're on lockdown right now listening to this, or if you're, if you're just talking about your business, right? Yeah, I've worked with a lot of entrepreneurs, and there's a huge difference between someone who is focused on growth and someone who is focused on protecting whatever they have,
Yes, yes, definitely. And investing in your business so that your business is the best it can be to serve whoever it is that you serve.
Right. Yep. Let's talk a little bit about creation. And one of our last talks together, we were talking a lot about invention and creation. And you made a remark which was pretty interesting, that nothing is as satisfying as invention and creation. Now, I totally agree with that. It goes right in line with what we're talking about today. And a lot of people don't think that they're very creative. They don't like, we're not talking about become an inventor and invent something like Thomas Edison. We're not talking about being a creative like Walt Disney. What are we talking about?
I don't remember.
Well,
Take me back. Take me back, and then I'll get me back on track. Sometimes I just go with my creative energy.
yeah, well, we're talking about some of the things that can kill creation and innovation. And one of the videos that I have on my website is about how a lot of times when we buy like into a formula, like a 1, 2, 3 step method, we do that because trying to figure it out on our own could be scary. What if we do it wrong? We kind of have a fear of failure. But the whole idea behind innovation is that you're okay with failure. You're okay to fail, 9 or 10 times, and then you finally happen onto something that is new and fresh and innovative. And so, especially in business, when we're talking about how things are changing so quickly, I really believe that the formulas and the methods that we may have even bought as a course, even like as late as 3 months ago, will be irrelevant in another 3 months. Just look at how much life has changed in the last couple of weeks with this. Again, Corona. Sorry, it's like a
I
drinking
know,
game
right?
today.
This is like
I
the
don't drink,
Corona
but it's like a
episode.
drinking game. We keep saying it, but um, the world is changing so quickly, and so we need to be okay with creating in the moment, and be okay with not knowing what tomorrow looks like, and be okay with, what, this thing that I might want to try might fall flat, but I'm going to try it anyway. um we've I feel like the currency of whenever we emerge out of this, the currency will be innovation and creativity. And that's not really what we talked about last time. I'm just free flowing. This is like how I feel. And so it's like, um, you know, how are you going to operate in the future? Now is the time to start looking at that and looking at who you are, what makes you joyful. If you hate your business right now for some reason, that's a clue. You're not enjoying something. What needs to change? What needs to shift? Your thoughts. We're just having conversation.
Well, I think that so many people or a lot of businesses sound very similar
Totally.
because um, people are afraid to um, to show up
Yeah.
as only they can and to say the unpopular thing and take something um, that's working and take a hard left and just shoot for the moon or shoot for something different. And like I used to call myself a joyologist. And people would be like, well, are you certified in that? I was like, listen, life coach didn't even exist, 10 years ago or 15 years ago or 20 years ago, whatever it is. I'm just judging. Like at some point, someone was like, I'm going to create a certification for this, but there wasn't one.
Right.
And I think that we pave the way as we take risks for others to also take risks. I think it was it Jesse Owens that ran the first 4-minute mile and no one had done it? And then all of a sudden, everyone
knew they could.
was able to do it because someone had come before them. And so you can be the one that comes first. And the thing is, people talk about like overnight success, but they don't see the 20 years you were in your garage with your thoughts and your laptop or whatever. I think that there was a time, and there's a time now for women that wasn't there before. I was speaking with someone the other day, and she's doing this thing called the Grandma Project, and it's talking about people's grandmothers and like our relationship with them and what was available to them. And women now, like, this is our time to, like, humanity rests, like, literally humanity rests on our shoulders. We are the creators of humanity. Without us, there is none.
Now, why do you say that? That's curious. Like, why would you say just women and kind of cut out the men? What?
Well, you actually, if you say it that way, men can have way more babies than women, but they can't have babies without women. Women need to agree. Women need to be on board to continue life.
Yep, this is true. Yeah, and I mean, to that point, I mean, all of us have creative energy inside of us. It's our life force, right? And when we suppress that creative life force, when we follow what others are doing in their formulas and not creating our own formulas and writing them down, as we were talking about before, something inside of us dies a little bit or gets a little stagnant.
I agree.
And I've seen it. I've seen a lot of businesses that come to me and they're stagnant, and it's because they've been following what their mastermind has been telling them, or they've been following some guru's method and not asking questions, asking hard questions. Does this resonate with me? Kind of like the book you were sharing about before.
Yes.
Does it resonate with me? Do I believe these things really? Is there something about it that I would like to change? And then having the courage to take a risk and do things a little differently. And that's how you will get noticed. That's how you'll attract your ideal customers,
Yes.
right?
Yes. To have to have the wherewithal to go first, and you be the one that paves the way. I was walking once and on my Bliss Walk, it was dark. And as I'm walking down the street, there's this huge branch in the road, and there was someone walking behind me. And as I get to the branch, I'm like, I almost tripped over it, and I go, branch, like, and I think that it's just such a great illustration of paving the way for those behind you by being the one to call out branch, not being the one that's like, oh, okay, there's going to be a branch somewhere. I mean, not that there's anything wrong with that. Like, that's awesome. I think we are all the teacher. We are all the student.
Yeah, I agree. And the unfortunate thing that I see sometimes out there with people who are leaders online is, this feeling of knowing it all, or not having a beginner's mind, and not being willing to try new things. Like, it's your way or the highway. it's your formula or not, this is the only way to be successful in business. This is the only, I can't stand it when someone says this is the only way, or there's only two ways or whatever, it's like,
Yeah.
that just automatically makes me say, you know what, I'm going to find a different way.
I think, it's like what I have found to work is this. This is what has made a difference for me. What do you think? What has made a difference for you?
Exactly.
What could we create together with my way and your way?
Right.
That's
Exactly.
brand spanking new.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, I say that all the time. It's like when two different elements come together, they make a new one. And that's alchemy. That's innovation. And so, yeah, I agree. It's not his way or her way. It's like, you can take all of these things and mix them up and make something totally new.
Yes.
So let's talk a little bit about your get out of a funk list. Like, what are some things that you have written down for when you're having a bad day or when you're not feeling on your game? What is it that you do to? I mean, you said there's 6 things in your recipe. Are there any other things? Like, do you go and get a green juice? Do you watch some favorite show of yours? Like, what are some of the things? Let's give people some ideas so they can write some things down.
Oh, I walk the dog. I cook something. I think that the kitchen, I was a chef for 25 years. So the kitchen is a sanctuary for me. And I happen to be a genius at, I cook like our ancestors cooked. Like I cooked like I cook like the immigrants cook. Like I'm not Hello Fresh. I'm not plated. I'm not any of those where like the box arrives and you have like a little thing of soy sauce and like 4 Brussels sprouts. I'm like, I've got these like wilted greens in the vegetable bin and I've got some salsa and what is that, an egg? And I make these like miraculous things. So I feel like, and sometimes even like my house smells the best when I have a lot to do because it's definitely a place that it's the place where I go to hide as well. And I think it's important to acknowledge that you like when you're a life coach or you're some sort of person that people hire to help them with their lives, I think it's really it's hard to admit and to really like share the places where you stumble and that you stumble. Because if I'm not perfect and I don't have it exactly right all the time and I'm showing this face to the world, why would someone hire me? And I think that for me, my people like that I am transparent and I am authentic and I am clunky, not smooth. It's how I roll. So sometimes one of the things the other day I got to get myself in for the funk list, I made my own TikTok account because I don't know if you know what TikTok is, but
and how'd it go?
I want to learn to dance, and I'm not a good dancer, and like there's all these moves, and it's like so like TikTok is really fun. Like I think that when you do something that's not expected, that will just really put you in a great mood, unless you suck at it or you have a 13-year-old like I do who's like, oh my God, mom, it's adorable how you think you can, blah, blah, blah. What else do I do? I might take a coffee break. I might there's some shows that I watch. I have like a Monday night lineup that I enjoy, and sometimes I'll take a break and I'll watch something. The problem is Netflix is they happen so fast that if you sit down to watch one, it's like 6 hours later and you didn't remember hitting, So I don't recommend Netflix. It goes too fast.
Yeah, it is. It puts your conscious mind to sleep, actually, a little bit. Those images are going straight into your subconscious mind, and that's why there's such a thing as binge watching, because you really do forget you're, sitting there just vegging.
Well, it's not even that. It's that it'll say the next episode will start in 3, 2, and you're trying to stop it. And then it goes right in and you're like, okay, I'll just watch this one.
Yeah, that's funny. All right. How can people learn more about what it is that you do? And then after you tell us that, why don't you end us off with a final thought?
Okay. So my website is liveajoyfullife.com. And so you can find me there. And it says how to contact me and a little bit more about me, although I think you know quite a lot about me at this point. So yes, liveajoyfullife.com. And my final thought is that joy is tangible and everything is tangible. And so when you think about joy, it's not like, fluffy, and it's not, oh, that would be nice. Like literally everything is joy, from the smell of your kid's head while they're sleeping to the $1 million deal that you close, which I have not done yet. Everything is tangible, and joy is tangible. And when you get to that place, everything that you create comes from joy.